Kindness, a word so simple, yet so rare in a world that races to be seen rather than to understand. We live in times where power is mistaken for strength, and silence for weakness. Where people give only to those who can return the favor, and look away from the ones who can't. But what if the measure of a person's worth isn't in what they have, but in what they give when no one is watching? What if the poorest hand holds the richest heart? And what if, sometimes, the greatest kings are not the ones who wear crowns, but the ones who carry compassion quietly? Because kindness doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't seek applause. It simply acts. And somewhere in the folds of time, even the smallest act of goodness can change the destiny of a kingdom. This is the story of a king who searched the world for an heir, and found one not in the palaces of the mighty, but in the heart of a poor farmer who had nothing, yet gave everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Many years ago, in a land wrapped in gold and guarded by mountains, there lived a great ruler, King Naran, the sovereign of Aramor. For decades, his name was sung by poets, and his wisdom feared by neighboring lands. But beneath the crown, he carried a sorrow heavier than his throne. The mighty Naran had no heir. He prayed to every god, offered gifts to every temple, and consulted every sage, yet destiny remained silent. The palace halls echoed with emptiness, no child's laughter, no footsteps to inherit his crown. The people whispered, "What is a king without a successor?" As the years wore on and his hair turned silver, the king's eyes grew tired. He feared dying with no one worthy to carry his vision forward. So one morning, he summoned his royal council and declared, "Let every noble chief bring forth his son. From among them, I shall choose my successor, not by blood, but by merit." Days later, the palace filled with young noblemen, proud, polished, ambitious. They bowed, they spoke of conquest and expansion, of power and fame. The king listened quietly. But in every speech, he heard arrogance, not humility. Desire, not compassion. Not one spoke of the people. Not one mentioned kindness. That night, as he walked alone through his moonlit garden, he stared at his reflection in the lotus pond and whispered, "Perhaps the ones worthy of leading are not found in marble halls, but in the forgotten corners of the world." So the next morning, the king made a decision that would change history. He shed his royal robes, removed his crown, and dressed in rags. He walked out of his golden palace disguised as a beggar, carrying only a wooden staff and a small bowl. For days, he wandered the streets of his own kingdom, unseen and unrecognized. He begged for food, but merchants turned away. He reached for water, but was mocked. Children laughed. Priests looked past him. The same people who once shouted his name now refused him a crumb of bread. Until one evening, weak and trembling, he collapsed by the roadside. The sun was fading into gold and crimson when a poor farmer passing by stopped and knelt beside him. "Are you all right, old man?" he asked gently. The king looked up, exhausted. "I haven't eaten in 2 days," he whispered. Without hesitation, the farmer opened his sack. Inside were only a few grains, barely enough for one meal. But he poured half into a bowl, mixed it with water, and handed it to the stranger. "It's not much," he said softly, "but it's better shared than wasted." The king's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in many years, someone gave him not what he deserved, but what he needed. That night, the farmer took him home, a small hut built of clay and bamboo. His wife greeted them with a weary smile. Together, they shared their meal, rice, a few vegetables, and gratitude. The old man slept on a mat, listening to the quiet hum of kindness that filled the humble home. For days, he stayed. He helped in the field, fetched water, and observed silently. The farmer and his wife owned almost nothing, yet they shared everything. They never complained, never envied. Every night, before sleeping, the farmer would whisper, "Gratitude keeps the soul rich, even when the pocket is empty." One evening, as they sat watching the sunset paint the sky, the king asked, "My son, why did you choose to help me, a stranger, when you had so little?" The farmer smiled faintly. "Because I know what hunger feels like," he said. "And because being human comes before being comfortable. If I can eat, I can share." The king looked at him long and hard. "If you were king, what kind of ruler would you be?" The farmer laughed. "Me? A king? No, sire. But if I were, I'd be the kind who listens before judging. The kind who feeds before punishing. And I'd make sure no man in my kingdom sleeps hungry." The king said nothing. His heart, once heavy with disappointment, now felt light, full of hope. The next morning, before dawn, he left quietly, leaving behind a golden coin near their mat. The farmer found it but refused to use it. "The old man must have dropped it," he said, keeping it safe. Days later, the royal guards thundered into the village with banners and horses. The farmer and his wife ran outside in fear, and froze. There, standing before them, was the same old man, now dressed in royal robes, wearing the crown of Aramor. The farmer fell to his knees, trembling. "Your Majesty." The king raised his hand. "You gave when others turned away. You saw a man when others saw a beggar. You have the heart I searched for, not in palaces, but in the purity of compassion." He smiled warmly and said, "Rise, my son. From this day forth, you are the heir of Aramor." The nobles raged. The ministers whispered. But the king's voice silenced them all. "A throne without kindness is a cage of gold. Power without compassion is poison." And so, the farmer, the man with nothing, became the heir to everything. He ruled years later with humility, justice, and love. When the old king lay on his deathbed, he whispered to his people, "Kindness is the truest crown. It cannot be taken, cannot be inherited, only lived." And thus, the story of the king who found his heir among the poor became legend, a timeless truth echoing through generations. Greatness isn't born from blood, it is born from the heart that chooses kindness even when the world forgets it. Subscribe for more.